Shout out to Jamie Moorhead. Shout out to Tiffany Kennerly and Jamaica. Yeah, it was a great event. And if I may, just something quick. I didn't want to waste anybody's time. Yeah, as far as this being a national holiday, when I first heard about it, I was pretty excited. But I'm the type of person that likes to dig just a little bit deep before I get excited, because sometimes things are thrown at us to kind of deflect us, especially in the Black community, if we don't really do like our proper research. So, if I may add, I think it's a good thing that it's considered a national and federal holiday. But what I do want to focus on and speak on the Black community about is just digging a little deeper as far as the research of this. I've heard a lot of stories and sometimes just some conspiracy things, kind of put two and two together on the Emancipation Proclamation back in January 1st, 1863. They would say that it basically has freed the slaves. But what I do want people to try to research when we get off of this show here on your own time is to remember a date. December the 6th, 1865 is actually when Georgia ratified the 13th Amendment. Some people emphasize that it took, about 2.5 years for Galveston, Texas, a number of slaves there that were recognized or were informed that they were free, so to speak. And what I like to throw out there is that within those 2 years, you do have to understand that even though in 1863 there was the Emancipation Proclamation, there was also a Civil War still going on. So that means the South, was still separate from the Union. They had their own constitution. They had their president, Davis, at that time. So that Emancipation Proclamation meant nothing to that southern region there, so there were still slaves actually until, the war ended. And in some cases, we can go, I don't want to get too deep into it. I want people to do their research, but even all the way up until 2013, where the state of Mississippi actually ratified this particular emancipation or amendment, so to speak. So
Right.
what I want people to understand is that, yes, Juneteenth is I would consider it, yes, a celebration, but I want us to get a little more acquainted with the dates. I want people to stop listening to the media, start digging in, doing their own research. But when we do celebrate these things, I really believe that anybody that holds a Juneteenth, from here to America and on out, what we need to incorporate is more of the history of this particular event, more of the history of who we are as Black people. If I may add, research again, technically only 3 to 5% were actually slaves from Africa. Most of us may not know that we are, the Aboriginals here. We were already here before Christopher Columbus. We were already here before other countries came in here to claim their land, so to speak. So when we speak on things like reparations and all of that, we have to pay close attention on why there's such a stall or why there's such a deflection in that. Is because I feel in my heart that we've been psychologically, how can I say this? We've been psychologically affected. We've been told stories about how all of us were slaves from Africa, which gives us this type of feeling that maybe we don't belong. When they say, oh, you need to go back to Africa. Well, some of us haven't really traced to see if we really came from Africa. In my studies, what they call Indians, they were Black people. There were Black Indians that were already here that were cultivating this land. So I just encourage people to do more research about slavery, about the Black history, so we can have a little more pride in knowing that you may never know this country was really ours in the beginning. Now, not leaving out anything with the slave with the slave trade, but also know that the majority of slaves that were dropped off were the ones in the Caribbean, in the Caribbeans and those islands there. Here in America, we were, like I said, we were psychologically affected, knowing that some of us were already here. And I encourage people, don't go through no 23andMe to find out your DNA, anything like that. Check with your grandmama, check with your great grandmama, your uncles, or anything. Go back as far as you can, and you'll see that they'll say that there's a lot of Indian blood going through this line here. So that's what I just want to bring aware to there. For Juneteenth events, let's focus on the history. Let's focus on working together as a Black community, working on building businesses and supporting each other, and just moving forward.
Well, personally, I believe that our educational system should be much more inclusive about all of this history that you're talking about. And so that, people growing up will know full scope of all this history and the progress and the suffering. I mean, everything. It's Juneteenth is a celebration, but it's also a commemoration.
That is true. I hope I wasn't trying to cut everybody off. And, just to add to that, just going back to, like I said, education, there has, and I don't want to give away everything, we'll be on her forever, but I just want to tell everybody, whether Black or white, let's focus on doing more research. Let's look beyond the surface. Let's look beyond the first Google link that we see. Let's do a paper trail on what was not told to us. And you're right, our educational system has definitely failed us nationwide. And the reason why I feel like that they've done that is because I believe that the powers that be are in fear of, if we all knew the knowledge and the true history of America, I believe they feel like that we would rebel against that. And I would just say that the truth, when everybody knows the truth, the undeniable truth, it forces us to be uncomfortable, which is what we need. But being uncomfortable also forces us to make changes and actually see the true character of a person once they receive that truth. So I say out there to everybody, do your research. When we do celebrate these holidays, what are we doing it for? And for anybody that is a part of any type of Juneteenth function next year, as far as sponsorships or anything like that, ask yourself, what are you doing it for? I know with sponsorships, there's money involved and everything, but we want to make sure that when you celebrate these things, anybody that's involved in it, what are you doing to help the cause? Are you donating to any Black businesses? Are you donating to any Black schools for restoration? Which I want to mention that Townsend is definitely in a state to where it needs some restoration. The school will be 100 years here in the next 10 or 11 years. We've reached out to a couple of people out there in Franklin County about the conditions, and we were given a deaf ear about a lot of things, especially last weekend. We had some officials, especially the county mayor, refused to fix some of the things that needed to be to make it comfortable there. At that event, luckily, it's by the grace of God and people that have pitched in, we were able to fix those air conditioning units. But it's just things like that kind of bother me, knowing that that's a historical school, and the fact that we're making this a national holiday. I know how businesses and government can take opportunities with this to show face, politician time. But really, it's really time to show how much you support the Black community, empathize with what's been going on in our history, and let's make some donations. Let's make some contributions to help these businesses grow, to help these functions and schools grow, because that's one of maybe a small handful of Black-owned area there, in particular Townsend, Hillcrest, and some other areas in Franklin County, but definitely in Townsend. I just want to call out to Winchester, anybody that's listening, to please to go out there and support. That school needs it. All the city officials out there, I ask, what are you doing this for once we celebrate this? What is this really all about? And this will really test the true character of our county, of our nation here.
So I'm just curious if either one of you have reach out to your local legislators, and try to communicate to them and show them, community support for the changes you're talking about.
Yeah, you actually brought up a good point. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Did I cut anybody off?
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'll be real quick, man. I like to talk. Yeah, yes, you made a good point, just reaching out to our city officials here. And, we speak to them a lot here, especially here in Tullahoma. And a lot of things that we normally get from particular officials locally, honestly, is a lot of deflection. We ask a lot of questions. We don't get too many answers. I hear a lot of times our officials are basically saying do for self, or this is something that the government can't do or anything like that. But so I agree and I disagree in a way. Yeah, there are things that we can do for self in the Black community. I just feel like some of our mentalities right now are it's a crab in a bucket type of situation. A lot of people don't like to see other people prosper, and not knowing that we can all kind of work together in this particular situation. If we have a good heart, we should put our city officials, we should put them on ice a little bit. That's the reason why we voted for them. Even if they can't make a direct impact, they do have the influence to, to influence other outside entities that could possibly, help progress the situation that we have. Like he was saying, it's a lot deeper than Juneteenth itself, as far as the history. It's actually where we are right now in the present, especially in the Black community. Since we're speaking on this, where are we? How are we coming together? What are things that we're doing within ourselves? Because when we work on ourselves, we start to get that respect from others from the outside. We never wanted to happen the other way around, where it seems like we don't have anything together and then we have to fall in the arms of the government hand, and therefore, we lose creative control. And once again, it's just another photo op for the voting poll and stuff like that. So yeah, we should do both. We should work for self, but we should also, put that pressure and hold these county people accountable. And if they don't reply to our request, then we should know that we have the power of that vote, and we have social media, and we should be able to let people know who has done what and who has done not, and progressing, our future here in the Black community.
Okay, the question is, going forward, what would be on your agenda specifically?
Well, let's see. I'll say like this. I'll be general with it, because sometimes being specific, I I want to make sure that we have our specifics together before I would even say anything. But if I can say generally, what we need to do, first, we need to educate ourselves. We need to educate ourselves about the true history, not only of Juneteenth, but the true history of America. We have to build that foundation first. And once we do that, then we can start planning, of course. I mean, the event planning, that kind of comes easy, with some of the things that you want to do as far as holding certain functions during this certain time. But generally, I believe what we need to do as a Black community, and as a community in whole, I believe that it just goes back to holding our officials accountable, learning our history, learning ourselves, learning our local history, coming together, supporting each other's businesses, and, creating a particular think tank within ourselves. So we will be educated. We won't be misinformed. We need to pass this down to our children, of course. Education is very, very important overall before anything. And just, I don't even know if this even fits in the sentence, but within the Black community, we need to know the power that we have. We're a very small community, roughly about 3 to 3.5% here in this area, Coffee County. I know Franklin County has a little bit more, but we have to understand that this is a micropolitan area. We are small, but we also have power in that small community, in our small percentage that we have. Maybe not that many businesses, but we have a lot of shakers and movers in the Black community that I feel need to come together, not be afraid of working with your fellow Black man or woman based on whatever relationship you may have with an outside source. We need to get over that fear. We need to have more confidence. We need to build up our characters and know that we have a spot here too, if not only a spot, but the spot was already here before any of this, before any so-called America even happened. We have to dig deep and know exactly where we came from. And knowing that will build so much pride, so much confidence. We won't have to reach out to too many people if we know exactly where we're from. So let's just build our character, educate ourselves, and hold these county officials that celebrate this particular event, and make sure that nobody's taking advantage of the situation. Make sure that they're contributing to our Black communities during this time.
To overturn that obstacle. And so this is definitely a community-wide effort all the time.
Yeah, and I definitely like to add too, and this will be the last thing. I know you guys got the time and stuff. I want to reiterate to anybody that's listening out there, once again, we have a historical Black school in Winchester, Tennessee,
Right.
going on 100 years old. Anybody that's out there listening, we are going to need donations. I know right now, speaking with a few of the people on the board, I know they're trying to get these grants and everything. And just the conditions of that school, even though it's being used as an adult center and some other things, there are certain areas in that school that can be utilized that I feel that's being ignored. And it's going to take, it's going to take the effort of the people to donate. We have a lot of alumni. We have a lot of important people in the Franklin County area, and they need to turn their heads over this way, toward that side of the town. Donations are what's going to help in between this time. That's as far as doing for self. You'll be surprised, how much you can accumulate, within a year, just getting, one or two things fixed. It's going to be a process, of course, but what I would love to see as, before that 100-year mark, because I believe the last class was in 1966. My dad was one of the alumni there. It would be nice before that mark, we can have a lot of things up and running in towns, and not only for just educational purposes. Well, yeah, for educational purposes and just other events. Having that sacred ground there is definitely important. It does need to be a historical ground, because that's important. We know those were during the times of the Civil Rights, Jim Crow era. A lot of our alumni are still alive. Some have passed. God bless them. But those donations are what really are going to help move this particular situation that we have here. So I'm just shouting out to everybody. If anybody ever cared, if this really means anything to you, because it is a part of the history, American history, Winchester, Franklin County history. And we need to, help pitch in, you guys.
So, all right, you guys, have you heard that they opened up a child advocacy center down at Townsend just recently?
Yeah, we actually talked to one of those people there. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a big event as well. That's something that the county has needed for child advocacy, and they've opened that office down there. So that's another thing that's being utilized at that facility now that's going to help maybe keep it, up and running and alive down there.
Yeah. Only thing I just say with that is, whatever we do, let's just make it genuine. Let's not make it temporary. Like I said, this would be something to be upkept, because if I may, and I hope I don't step on any toes, and it might be going off the subject a little bit, but I think there's a comparison. I have a few Jewish friends, and a lot of Jewish friends tell me that, there are historical museums here that dedicate the Holocaust. The Holocaust didn't even happen here in America, and it's being funded annually for the last 30 years at least, and so not just speaking on Townsend, but other Black historical colleges or other schools. Those are the type of things that need that attention there. Like I said, it's a national holiday. But if we're doing anything on that national holiday, we need to think about plans of restoring a lot of our Black monuments here, our Black historical grounds here. If they say Black history is American history, let's prove it. Let's put it to the test. Otherwise, we just need to formulate a plan as Black people and start doing things for ourselves so we can have more control over our history.
Well, also, there's unfortunately, a lot of misinformation about vaccines. There always has been, anti-vaxxers. And this couldn't be a more dangerous thing to do, especially now.
No, you're right on that. Just to piggyback off a few things that both of you guys have said, and this is just from my own personal opinion, especially when it comes to COVID-19 vaccine. I've always had a problem with shots. This is personally, they hurt. I think the last time that I did receive any type of shot for the flu, I was working in the school system about 10 years ago down here at the TCS. and it was mandatory that we had to take these shots. But I realized when I took these shots, I ended up getting sick, and I had to call out of work for a whole week. And so I became a little conflicted, a little confused about everything that's going on now as far as pushing. Like I said, I'm not trying to influence; it's just my own opinion.
Right.
Talking about these vaccines and pushing these vaccines, and it seems, if I may, it seems that the emphasis seems to be a lot on the lower income and Black communities and stuff, just pushing this particular vaccine. And what I want people to do that are listening right now, Black community, people in lower income communities, and the ones that just may not be, aware of what's going on, just do a little more research on some of these vaccines. Ask yourself, why are there certain processes? Why are there a certain number of shots? Why is this out of the blue? Some other. There's always something. There's always some type of new strand. There's always some type of new shot. You always have to ask yourself,
Right.
well, what? How did they come up with this antidote so fast? They said it would take longer than what they were saying before. Are they testing certain things on us? We have to be really aware of what we stick in our bodies. At the end of the day, love yourself. Understand what you're putting in your body. I understand they may tell you that, but let's just focus more like on our own personal health too. To the community out there that I'm speaking, let's focus on our health. Let's not be too quick to listen to our officials on how important this vaccine is that you need to get and all this and all that. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's big conspiracies about COVID-19 and all. I'm trying to stay away from that. What I'm really just trying to focus on is, hey, understand your body, take care of your body, research these things that they're telling to stick in your body that prevent this particular virus. And may I do add that everything that they're saying about this COVID-19, this virus, remember, look up the definition of a virus versus bacteria. And I think it'll take you down the rabbit hole a little more and to be more cautious about what our government is trying to feed us.